not outlined like explicitly in the MLW rulebook, just defaults to MLB. So like a pitcher should have, maybe we should start enforcing this more, but a pitcher should have to come set while in contact with the rubber prior to starting his motion.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to start enforcing that and preventing the balks, because I don't know that Johnny was.
They have to be set.
Which means like coming to a pause when you're on the rubber.
What is up, everybody? It is Dynamic here, and welcome back to another MLW video. Now, today we are going to be talking about a bit of a controversy in the MLW. You know, I haven't really seen it been brought up too much, but I heard about it while listening to the MLW Pipe It Up podcast, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about the legality of some of the pitches that we've been seeing in MLW recently. So we are going to dive into all of that, but before we do, I do want to say we are on the road to hitting 800 subs, and we are so close, less than 10 away. So if you are new to the channel and you like MLW content, make sure to subscribe for more, and I'm sure you will not be left disappointed. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So while that podcast clip did inspire me to make this video, I have been feeling like for a while there has been a lot of pretty crazy pitching in the MLW, especially in last series, the Metro Magic versus Coastal Cobras, that Ripken series. We saw a lot of movement from John Paul Gunn on the mound. He was kind of jumping and fading back and doing a lot of different things. Now, also a big person who does this is Ryan Cratch. He's probably the most well-known person who does this. He does a lot of fading away. He messes with people's timing. And I think it's interesting to look at if that's something that should be changed down the line. Now, for you guys that don't know, pitching in the MLB is something that is very strict. Obviously, there's balks, and now there's a pitch count, and there's a lot more rules and regulations to stop pitchers from really messing with hitters' timing, because it is so hard to hit a baseball, and it would kind of ruin the enjoyment of the sport of baseball if pitchers were able to kind of do whatever they like. Now, despite there being a ton of rules in baseball, there's really not that many rules in MLW. Both Tommy and Jack kind of expressed that there wasn't really any rule to be made in MLW. They both just kind of said that there is sort of this hidden understanding that players won't abuse the power to go absolutely crazy on the mound, but now that the league is getting much more competitive, there's a lot of players who are going to do everything in their power to try and create an advantage. So me personally, what I'll say on the history of this pitching mechanism where guys like to do different things, it really wasn't that popular until just a couple years ago, where Ryan Cratch started doing a lot of different things. Also, guys like Jimmy Norp, we saw messing with batters' timing, and also there's a lot of Kyle Schultz film out there of him kind of messing with the batters' timing, but he usually doesn't get too crazy with it. So let's go to some examples that I'd like to talk about specifically. So now we can see some examples. Of course, I think Pat Ballman and also John Paul Gunn are two guys that really take advantage of the MLW's rule or lack of rule that you can really do anything you want on the mound, because they're both NWA guys, and in that league, some of those guys get really crazy with some of the pitches. So as you can see here with this pitch, you can see that Pat Ballman kind of takes an extra time to really like hunch down, almost to throw off Preston Colm's timing. In my opinion, this pitch should be legal. I think that it just kind of adds a little bit more finesse to the pitch. I don't think it's necessarily disruptive to the hitter. So in my opinion, this pitch is completely okay, at least for MLW standards. So our next guy here is going to be John Paul Gunn, and we did already kind of talk about this pitch a bit, but this is the jump throw that you can see he does here to Caden Irwin. I want to make it clear, I have nothing against like John Paul Gunn, Pat Ballman, Ryan Cratch for doing these pitches. I really like them. It's kind of just a matter of your taste in the league. So I'm not like trying to pick these guys out to like blame them for anything. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to show examples. But this is the pitch where he walks up, kind of jumps to the mound, jumps at the batter, and throws a pretty nice pitch, a lot of movement on that one, and really makes Caden Irwin reach for it. In my opinion, this pitch is probably the most one that's a little on edge. You're going to see here, I kind of agree with all of these pitches as being legal, but this is probably the first one where I say, well, maybe you kind of have to start with that first foot at the edge of the mound. But I don't know, once again, it doesn't really seem like it adds a huge advantage, but I'll talk about that later. Here's another example of a pretty interesting pitch. It is Jimmy Norp here, where he kind of does his thing where he'll be on the mound, do a total spin around and faces back towards the batter, before pitching the ball. To me, there should be nothing illegal about this. It definitely is messing with the batter's timing a little bit, but there's no real problem in this. It's still a part of his motion. So in my opinion, this pitch is probably at least the most legal out of all the ones we'll go over today. And the next example I randomly found while watching this game from a while ago, it's Brendan Jorgensen, who you can see kind of puts his foot up, back down again, and then throws the pitch. This is almost like the Jimmy Norp one to me, where, yeah, he's throwing off the batter's timing a little bit, but there's still really not enough to go off of. In MLB, this would probably be a little bit of a balk if there was somebody on base. It's kind of hard to say. I'm not the biggest on MLB rules, and I'm not even the biggest on MLW rules, but I just think this is pretty interesting to look at and might say, hey, this is giving the pitcher kind of an unfair advantage. So should the MLW make change is the big question, and I'm going to reveal what I truly believe, which is that no, I don't think the MLW should make change with the pitches. I do think the John Paul Gunn pitch that was allowed in the last series is a little bit kind of overpowered for pitchers. I don't really know what I feel about that or how they should change that rule, because once again, you see guys like, for example, Jordan Robles doesn't really do too much like fading off the mound. He does mess with timing, and he's the best pitcher in the league right now. So it's not really clear if that gives you a total advantage. It might just kind of throw you off, make a cool highlight play. And then there's also the fact that part of the reason that wiffle ball and MLW in total is watched and is cool is because they make more entertaining changes to baseball than what would be like a normal baseball game. The games are shorter, they're more fast-paced, you're allowed to do more, there's more interesting things that happen, in my opinion. Now, that could be a really hot take for some of you guys out there, but yeah, in my opinion, wiffle ball can be more fun to watch than baseball, especially in the MLW, and I think this is one of the reasons why, is that they don't restrict the players too much, and that helps the audience want to watch more games when they're seeing Ryan Cratch fading off the mound and throwing an absolute dime to the middle of the strike zone. Also, didn't the MLW kind of already handicap pitchers with the speed limit rule? I know it would be almost impossible to get hits if guys were allowed to fast pitch from that close, but I'm just saying that letting the pitchers kind of do more with the timing will help them to pitch better, and I think it's more fair for the league. Anyways, guys, that is my idea on this whole ordeal. It is kind of from person to person different, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Should the MLW take more steps to restricting this next season? What do you guys think? So like always, guys, make sure to subscribe, like the video, comment below what you think, and peace.